Swami has given us an opportunity to sing ungal puzhaikkadai. Um, so how it is like so far, like Andal has woken up 8 girls, right? So as I was told by Srivali Bhatta, so she goes to one house and then she wakes up that girl. Andal and that one girl will go to the second house and they both sing the next piece and and then they wake up. So here, when they come to Ungal Purkade, there are Andal plus 8 girls, so there are 9 girls. So when they go from one house to another house, even that time they don't want to waste. So it will take like 10 to 20 seconds. Some go, go from one doorstep to another doorstep and they knock, right? So even in that gap, they sing some Namavali to avoid gossiping. Like if you send me, I will like gossip some, with whoever I'm going with. But Andra, like her focus is only because in too many Madathil, she's saying Namam Palavam Navindelur and Bhavai, right? So even that 20 seconds they will not wait, they will sing some Namavali. So they go from one house, Pulinvai Kindanai house. They have woken up Pulinvai Kindanai. They are going to the next house singing this Namavali, and then they sing Ungal Purakkadai. That girl wakes up, and then from that house to another house, they sing Namavali and go to LA house. So just imagine Namavali, Pasuram, Namavali. So that is how like we are going to planning to sing to. Rama Krishna Govinda Narayana Rama Krishna Govinda Narayana Rama Krishna Govinda Narayana
Thank you so much, Harini for this wonderful opportunity. You are blessing us with opportunity. This is such a great musical performance, and now I feel very humbled just after seeing all the performances today by the kids, the way beautifully they have presented, and also this entire performance. So I think my speaking here will be just like lighting a lamp in daylight. Because so many suns here with such illumination. So, and a wonderful musical performance too. Thank you so much for blessing this idea. So,
all Arma's blessings, and these kids are like all laddus trained by their parents.
So, thanks to the entire Goshti for being here. We will not make it long today. We'll try to keep it short. So, we'll just.
Please do not restrict your part of Upanyasa. Like you just keep like that.
Sure.
We will report nothing.
Okay. So today we are discussing ungal puzhaikkadai, Pasuram, right? In that sequence we are going. We'll start with prayers. Andal Thiruppavai Sharanam Neela Tungastanagiri Tati Suptamudbodhya Krishnam Parathyam Swam Shruti Shatasiras Siddhamatyapayanti Swochisthayam Srajani Yabalat Kritya Bhunte Goda Tasya Nama Idamidam Puya Evastu Puyaha Ungal Puzhaikkadai Tottattu Vaviyul Sengal Neervai Nelindambal Vai Kumbinagan Sengal Podikurai Venbal Tavattavar Tangal Tirukkoil Tengiduvan Povindrar Engalai Munnum Edukuvan Vai Pesum Mangai Edundirai Nanadai Navudayai Sengadu Chakkaram Yendum Tadakkayan Pangai Kannane Padelo Rembavai. So this is the beautiful Pasuram that Andal has blessed us with. So we'll try to understand the external meaning and also internal insights provided by our Purvacharyas on this beautiful Pasuram. So, ungal puzhaikkadai thottattu vaviyul. So, in today's Pasuram, so just for context, right, Harini just mentioned Pasuram 6 through 15, Andal is just going to the homes of different gopikas, and all these gopikas have certain exclusive characteristics that they are good at. So, different aspects of Acharya Tattvam that one should take shelter of is being glorified in each of these Pasurams, right? So Andal is trying to bring out one aspect in each of these. So Andal is trying to bring out one aspect in each of these. In Pasuram 6 and Pasuram 7, Andal talked about the importance of Shravanam. So the goal of life for all mumukshus, that means anybody who is trying to aspire for moksham, the goal of life is to attain God. So for that, a vision of God is required towards the end of life, right? That is the process that Shastras have told us, right? In order to get this vision of God, and this vision of God is described to be darshana samanakara. That means as if we are seeing God in person, that is how we should see the form of the Lord. For this, Shastras have prescribed a certain process, right? The first process is Shravanam. First thing is we should even understand the nature of God, how God looks like. What are his qualities, what are his pastimes, what are his attributes. If we want to visualize the Lord who is trying to defeat a particular demon, we should understand from scriptures how exactly he displays his valor while defeating demons. So in this way, whatever, if we want to visualize, God who is playing a flute, then we have to understand from scriptures, that entire scene of Krishna playing a beautiful flute, right? And that entire scenery, right? People who are artists in this group, there are many artists, right? People who are very good painters and so on. So they all can understand this, right? Relate to this, to visualize that entire scene. So now one has to have a vision of the Lord in such a way that it should be as if one is literally seeing that scene in front of one's eyes. So in order to attain to that state, there are few stages that one has to pass through. The first of that stage is Shravanam, or hearing, right? So in the first two Pasurams, Andal was giving different indications about how one has to perform Shravanam. Right? That is Pasuram 6 and 7. Then in Pasuram 8, Andal was talking about the next phase. After we hear, the next phase is on us. So as far as hearing is concerned, there is, a part of it which is the acharya's responsibility to teach the right things, and a part of which is the student's responsibility to hear those things, right? To be attentive and listen to everything. But then the next phase comes, which is mananam or meditating, constantly reflecting on those meanings, repeatedly trying to recollect those things into one's memory, right? That is mananam. And then comes nididhyasanam. This is the part called dhyanam. Dhyanam is when, after we have heard a certain message, after we have heard the messages of the scriptures, what we have to do is, we try to meditate on those things repeatedly, and then we try to make this message firm in our mind, right? The entire concept is so firmly established in our mind. Once the concept is established, we start meditating on that, right? This is called nididhyasanam, right? And this nididhyasanam was described to be in 4 phases, right? Those 4 phases are yatamana avastha, vyatireka avastha, ekendriya avastha, and vashikara avastha. Just as a quick recap for everybody, right? Yatamana avastha is that phase where we don't really have a taste for our goal. Okay, there is a certain goal that we are trying to meditate upon, right? Certain object, right? But we don't have the focus that is required to meditate on it. Our focus is on so many external objects. Our focus is constantly getting distracted by so many external things. Yatamana avastha is a phase of conscious endeavor for our mind to get diverted from those external sense objects onto the object of our focus. That is called yatamana avastha, right? Andal described about this in phase in the Pasuram 12, right? Then in the next Pasuram, that is Pasuram 11, the Pasuram preceding that, Andal talked about a phase called Vyatireka Avastha. Vyatireka Avastha is a phase where we make a differentiation between certain desires that we have conquered and certain desires that are unconquered. In other words, in phase 1, we have a certain goal and we want to meditate on that goal because we want to eventually achieve that thing, right? But there are lots of distractions. Now we have to put a conscious effort to divert our mind from the distractions to focus on that goal. That is phase 1. In phase 2, we all know that all the distractions that are around us, there may be so many things, but only few things distract us. The rest of the things don't distract us. Let's say, there is a cricket match that is playing on the TV, right? Cricket match is distracting only to those people who are, a fan of that game. There are people in the same room to whom cricket really, it doesn't matter to them. For them, it's not a distraction. It's just something that's going on. They can still focus on whatever they want to do, right? So in Vyatireka Avastha, the second phase, one is able to, whatever things one is strongly attracted to in phase 1, the intensity of those things comes down. If one was attracted to a certain thing, with 80% intensity, that comes down to 20% intensity in phase 2, right? Then there are other things to which one is not so attracted to. The intensity itself in phase 1 was 10 to 20%. That becomes complete zero in phase 2. Okay, so phase 2 is a slightly more advanced version of phase 1, where one is able to clearly identify conquered desires from unconquered desires. That means few things are still there, but the intensity has been reduced, and few things are completely gone. This is phase 2. Phase 3 is called ekendriya avastha. It is a phase where one is fixed on the goal. One still recognizes that this was a distraction for me in the past, whenever that distraction occurs, right? Let's say the cricket match is going on. Then one knows that, yes, this is something I used to be attracted to. But today I know that I have to focus on my exam. I have to study for my exam. So one is not so much distracted. In phase 1, one has to constantly come out, and then he comes all the way till the door to watch what is going on, whether, what is the score, who is out, who is still there, and so on. But one resists oneself and goes back. Because we are still talking about conquering our desires, right? It's not yielding to our desires. So if one is not able to control oneself and comes and watches the entire match and then goes, then one has not conquered phase 1, right? So if one is able to check oneself somehow or the other so that one is able to focus on the exam or whatever, that is phase 1. Right? Phase 2, that intensity is reduced. Phase 3 is when one knows that this was a thing I was attracted to, but the intensity is now nothing. I know that this is the goal. I understand the purpose of this goal. Therefore, I want to focus on this. That is phase 3. Phase 4 is a phase where one does not even feel about that thing at all. Even though a cricket match is happening, that word also does not, light anything in his brain, right? Although that is happening. That is the level to which one has advanced. And typically the example I would love to give is, when an assignment is due at 11:59 p.m., right? The last 1 hour, right? Everybody will be in phase 4, right? Because nothing else matters to him except that. That is phase 4, right?
But they go straight to phase 4.
So, okay. So now these are the phases of dhyanam that Andal has described. Now, our Upanishads have described different kinds of Brahma Vidyas. Brahma Vidya means the science of meditating on Brahman. That is called Brahma Vidya. There are 32 Brahma Vidyas identified in our Upanishads by different rishis and our Purvacharyas. Standard. So now, in the previous Pasuram, which was Pasuram 13, Andal was talking about Antaraditya Vidya. Antaraditya Vidya means meditating on Paramatma, who is present as the Antaryami of Aditya or sun. Right? Paramatma is that tattva, Brahman is that tattva which exists in every object, right? And is sustaining that object, is maintaining that object, right? And causing all the wonderful things from that object to happen, right? So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Jyotisham Raviram Shuman, he says in the 10th chapter that he is the one who is causing that sun's light and heat and all those things to come about, the intensity and illumination of the sun to come about. So this meditation on Brahman is being talked about. Antaraditya Vidya is talking about meditating on Paramatma within the globe of the sun. Now, in today's Pasuram, Andal is trying to, allude us to another Vidya called Dahara Vidya. What is this Dahara Vidya? Dahara is that space within the heart where Paramatma resides. So Paramatma resides in all of us too, right? As the Antaryami, he exists in all of us. And he is the one responsible for maintaining us. How do we know? We all may feel that I am the one maintaining, I am the one doing everything. But there is someone who is keeping the body alive even when we are sleeping. That is one phase we can clearly identify that we are not consciously putting any effort to do anything, but still our body is remaining intact and it's able to wake up the next day and remember what has happened the previous day. Who is doing this? So then we clearly understand that there is some force that is able to keep us and maintain us and sustain our continuity into the next day. Right? This continuity from past to present to future is being maintained by a tattva called Brahman. Right? So that Brahman is being talked about. Right? Now we all know Paramatma exists in all of us. He says, Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhutasaya Sthita, right? In Bhagavad Gita, that I am the Atma present in everybody. Right? So now that Atma we have to meditate upon. That is called Dahara Vidya. So that reference to Dahara Vidya is being brought out in this particular Pasuram. Right? How exactly Andal tries to bring about, we will try to understand. So first, the scriptures describe that, in the region of the heart, there is something like an inverted lotus. Right? Within that region, there is a space called Dahara, Daharakasa. It is described that Akasa itself is Paramatma. Right? That tattva that is sustaining is called Paramatma. So meditating on Paramatma within the lotus of the heart is called Dahara Vidya. Okay? So in today's Pasuram, we will try to understand how Andal is trying to reference that particular science. Okay? So here we are being told, ungal puzhaikkadai. Sure. Sure. So here she is trying to say, ungal puzhaikkadai thotattu vaviyul. So in this particular Pasuram, first we will try to understand the external meaning. So what she is saying is, in the garden, right, in your backyard, vaviyul, there is a certain well. So inside that well, what exists? She is saying, Sengal neer vai, nelindambal vai, kumbinagan. Sengal neer means she is talking about two kinds of flowers here that are present inside the well. One is a red lotus, it's also called a day lotus. The other one is a blue lily, right? It is something that, only blooms in the night, right? So red lotus is something that responds to the sun. It blooms during the day and it closes, as the sun sets. And then this blue lily is something that, blooms in the night and then it closes during the day. So she's talking about these kinds of two flowers. Okay. Sengalanirvai, Nelindambalvai, Kumbinakan. So she is saying that these two kinds of flowers exist inside that well. Where is this well? This well is in the backyard of this particular Gopika to whose house they have come today. Okay. And then within that garden, there is a certain well, and within that well, there are these kinds of flowers. Now she is saying, Sengal Podikkurai, Venbal Tavattavar. So the first reference that she gave this particular Gopika, again, she's trying to indicate, so externally it appears that she's coming to the house of every Gopika and she's trying to describe certain symptoms of daybreak, that the sun is coming and so you have to get up, you are still asleep and we are all ready, we want to meet Krishna. So you please come out and join us. In this way, externally, the Pasurams go. But internally, what she's trying to do is, she's trying to take shelter of a certain Acharya Tattva who is in deep meditation on Paramatma. And then she wants that Acharya, that particular Acharya Purusha to come out of that meditation and become their leader and guide us on the spiritual path of reaching Krishna. So this is the internal understanding. So this is the way in which Andal is proceeding. So in this Pasuram, the first symbol of daybreak that she talked about was about the lotuses, right? The lotuses and the lilies. That the red lotuses are blooming, and then the black lilies or blue lilies, they are actually, they are actually shrinking, right? So these are the symptoms that she is describing of daybreak. The second thing that she is talking about is Sengal Podikkurai Venbal Tavattavar. That means, Tavattavar. That means those ascetics, sannyasis who are, wearing the Kashaya Vastra, right? And having white teeth, Venpal means teeth are white. So she is describing that those sannyasis who are wearing Sengal Podikkurai means that robes are dyed with a certain color, right? Saffron color, right? Or reddish color. So apparently it is described that, the way those clothes are made, there is a certain stone or a chalk, a red chalk that is made into a powder. It is mixed with water and a dye is prepared out of it. And the dye is applied on this particular cloth. And that is how a sannyasi's robe is made. Right? So that is being described here. Sengal Podi Kurai Venpal Tavattavar. So the sannyasis, apparently, they are also, coming out in their robes with their white teeth. And what are they trying to do? Tangal Tirukkoil Sengiduvan Pohinrar. So she's saying Tangal Tirukkoil. So to the temples, Sangiduvan, to blow the conch, that means to perform Tiruvaradhanam, Poginrar, they are actually going. Right? So she is describing another symptom. Okay, that first thing she said was about the lilies and the lotuses. The second thing she's saying is, I'm also seeing all the ascetics actually coming out and going to perform Tiruvaradhana in the temple, right? So this is the other symptom that she is describing. The third thing that she is saying is, Nangai, Engalai Munnum Yaluppavai Vai Pesum Nangai. So she is saying, oh lady who is complete in your qualities, who is perfectly filled with qualities, why pesum? You said with your own mouth. What did you say? Engalai munnum yaduppavan. That you will come and wake us all up is what you told us. You said before all of us are ready, you said you will come and you'll wake us up. But now you have not kept your word. Right? This is how Andal is accusing her in a friendly way. Right? Not anything that she says here is to be taken only in a friendly way, not in an abusive way. So now she is going to say, Nana Dai. She's going to say you're a shameless braggart. Right? Shamelessly, you are just bragging about all these things, but you're not doing anything. Again, in a very friendly note. Now, you're a very adroit talker. You talk a lot. You talk about so many things. She's also trying to indicate that you are just like Krishna. Krishna is someone who says one thing and does another thing. Right? Whatever he says, he doesn't keep it. So, you're also, because he said, right, that he will not carry any weapon in the war. But he immediately took a weapon to protect Arjuna. Right? In this way, he says one thing, he does another thing. So he's very unpredictable. So because you're associating with him, you have also become like that. You're also unpredictable. We can't trust you. So, Edandara, you please get up. Right? Now, enough of this, enough of your sleep. Please get up from this. And then she is saying, Sengadu Chakkaram Yendam Tadakkayan. Now, she is describing the Lord's qualities. Sengadu Chakkaram, that means he is someone who is having Endum, he is holding the Shankha and Chakra, Tadakkayan. And his arms are very long. With his long arms, he is holding the Shankara and Chakra. And then she is saying, Pangayak Kannanai Padu. That this Kannan also has lotus-like eyes. This is another thing that she is describing. Pada. We are singing about him. Elo Rempavai. This is our Vratam. Please come and join. So these are the things that she is describing. Now let's try to understand how she is alluding to that dahara vidya about the person who is meditating here. And then we will also understand a few more interesting insights about today's pasuram. So the first thing that she said was, ungal puzhaikkadai thotattu aviyul. So in your tota, or in your, or in your garden, what is there? There is a certain well. Within that well, whose well is it? She's saying your well, ungal. She's saying your well. Why is she specifically saying ungal? Because people who have come to this level of meditation have a very high degree of surrender where they do not have the concept of me and mine. Their ahankara and mamkara are completely destroyed, right? So that is the reason why even Nammalvar, right? He never says you, he says Neeru Numud, right? He doesn't, even by mistake, he doesn't say that because they're afraid of even using those words because those vasanas might touch us. So because of that, they don't want to use those words. Now these girls, they're very clever. They want to address like that so that she can come out of that meditation. Hey, what did you say? That is something I shouldn't hear. In this way, that girl might come out of meditation. So intentionally, they are trying to say your things. But even after that, the girl showed no response. Why? Because there is a certain, interesting thing here. When we have things that we want to offer to God, then it is okay to say that. So if we want to say a statement like, everything that belongs to me is yours, my Lord, then we cannot say everything that belongs to you is yours, my Lord. Right? That sentence doesn't make any sense. So there are certain instances where we have to refer to things to us when we are showing that connection to Perumal. Now this girl was connected to Perumal. So her body was connected to Perumal. Her garden was connected to Perumal. The well inside the garden was connected to Perumal. So even if that was alluded that way, she is in the meditation that yes, that also belongs to Perumal. So therefore there was no reaction in it. Right? This is one meaning. The second thing is Sengal nearby, Nelindambalvai, Kuminakan. Now she is talking about certain flowers blooming here. So here is the interesting analogy. What is the garden? The garden is this body itself. Because what is a garden? Garden is a place of pleasure, right? Anybody who has a very beautiful backyard, why do they use it for? They want to relax, they want to enjoy, they want to hold parties there. So that's a place of relaxation. It's a place of enjoyment. This body also, for an ordinary samsari, this body is a place of enjoyment. And even otherwise, it can be said this is a place of enjoyment because with this body and with the senses, we try to experience different objects that are around us. So that is why this body is a place of enjoyment. Now, within this garden, she is talking about a certain well. What is this well? This well is the spine, right? The spine that is present behind. And within this well, she is saying there are certain flowers. What are these flowers? These are the different chakras. So she's alluding to the yoga process, right? The process of yoga. Okay. So in this yoga process, what happens in a yoga process? The prana is present at the base chakra, also called the Mooladhara chakra. This prana has to rise all the way till Sahasrara chakra, which is present at the region of the crown. Okay. Near the spinal cord, this Mooladhara chakra exists. So when these chakras are all active, they can easily let that energy flow all the way to the top. So these chakras have to be activated. So what Andal is trying to indicate by saying that these, day lotuses are actually blooming and then the night lilies are actually shrinking. She is indicating that the day lotuses, which are these chakras along this well, they are all blooming. That means they are all getting activated. That means all these chakras are active enough to drive that energy flow from the bottom to the top, right? This is what she's indicating. Then she is saying there are certain other things that are night lilies, which are actually, shrinking. What is she indicating by this? By this, she is saying that the indriyas are actually shrinking. That means the indriyas that are attracted to external objects, they are closing. And then these chakras, which are facilitating one's spiritual progress, are actually getting activated. So that means she's talking about a certain energy flow, which will actually facilitate devotion to Perumal, right? When that is connected all the way till Sahasrara chakra is where one feels that spiritual connection with the Supreme Being, right? That is the place where one feels it. So when that energy flow is connected all the way through, all the chakras are active, then that energy flows all the way through. That means that understanding that Jiva belongs to Paramatma, that everything that Jiva does is being done by Paramatma, that all things belong to Paramatma, that he is the Karta, he is the Bhokta, and to him everything belongs. This Sangha will completely go away from one when that connection is established. In all of one's actions, this will manifest. So that is what she is referring to here. So what is she saying? That she is referring to this Gopika, who is a very good practitioner of Dahara Vidya, right? Because she's referring to, in your body, all these changes are happening. And we can know that this is happening in you. This is what she's indicating here. Another meaning also is told that this garden is nothing but the Ashtakshari mantra, right? And then we are also told that the Namapadam is where these two kinds of lotuses exist, okay? A certain kind of lotus has to close, another kind of, a certain kind of lotus has to open, and another flower has to close. So what is it? The Paratantriya Bhavana has to bloom. The Swatantra Bhavana has to close, right? These are the things that should happen. And these will happen when we meditate on that Namapadam constantly. Because we are saying that I don't belong to me, I belong to Perumal, right? None of the activities belong to me. Everything that I'm doing today belongs to Perumal. The fruit doesn't belong to me, that also belongs to him. I'm not the Karta, he is the Karta. So one has to be, that Paritantriam has to awaken in one. That is the blooming that she is indicating. And the Swatantriam, that is independent mentality, thinking that I am the performer of all activities, that the result belongs to me. All these activities belong to me. The people around belong to me. This Sangam has to go away. That fruit has to go away. Fruitive mentality has to go away. So this is also something she is indicating. And then another thing that is externally, now these are all internal meanings. Externally, in a very beautiful way, she is saying that we know that Krishna must have come there. So Krishna's eyes, generally, ladies' eyes are compared to lilies and gents' eyes are compared to lotuses. Okay. So Krishna's eyes are blooming, looking at you, and apparently he must have come from behind you and he must have closed your eyes in the garden. So your eyes have closed and his eyes have opened and he is trying to enjoy you. So in this way, externally, she is coming up with a beautiful meaning, but internally, these are all the things that she is trying to indicate. Sengal podikure venbal tavatavar tangal terukkoye sengiduvan pohinrar. Now, orange color is being alluded to here, and the white color of the teeth are being talked about here, and a certain blowing of the conch is being indicated. So 3 points for us to note, right? What is this orange color that is being talked about here? So first we said that it will be like a red chalk, a certain stone. That stone is actually broken and that stone is made into a powder. That powder is mixed with water, and then a dye is prepared and that dye is applied to a cloth. Then it becomes that saffron colored robe that a sannyasi wears. Okay. So she is trying to indicate the nature of a sannyasi, right? What is this nature? What is this initial red stone? This is ragam towards things that we all have. We all have attraction towards things, right? Now this attraction has to be powdered first. It has to be destroyed. And then it has to be mixed in waters called Bhagavat Sambandham. What exactly is Vairagyam? What is Vairagyam? People think that Vairagyam means detachment from everything, right? That is the understanding. But there is a beautiful explanation our Purvacharyas have given for what Vairagyam is. Okay? Raga means attachment towards things. We like so many things that we want to enjoy. This is called Raga, right? Now, if we understand that these things belong to me, we have to understand the entire Chetana and Achetana Samoham is meant for Lord's pleasure. It is meant for Him. It is meant for Paramatma's sake. It is not meant for our sake. Transferring is understanding that everything is meant for me to everything is meant for Paramatma is called Vairagya. Vairagyam means that changing to whom everything belongs. We are just thinking that everything is meant for my enjoyment. If we just change that conception to everything is meant for Paramatma's enjoyment, that is called Vairagya. All that needs to happen is just that. So this has to be powdered first, and that has to be mixed with Bhagavat Sambandham. And then that has to be applied again on our body. So this is what sannyasa is. What does Krishna say about sannyasa in Bhagavad Gita? In the 6th chapter, first slokam, he says, Anashchita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha sa yogi cha na niragnir na chakriya. He says that he is not a sannyasi who doesn't do anything. Generally, we think that sannyasi means he has to give up everything. Who doesn't do anything, right? This is not sannyasa that is talked about in Bhagavad Gita, right? In Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna saying? Anashita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. He who does his activities without taking shelter of the fruits. Such a person, sa sannyasi cha. Such a person is sannyasi. Not a person who doesn't even light up the fire or a person who doesn't do any activity, right? So Krishna's understanding of sannyasa is giving up three things. What are they? Phala, sangha, and kartrutva. We have to do all the activities. It is inevitable for us to do activities from the beginning till the end, right? But the way we perform the activities has to change. What are the three things we should cultivate while doing activities? Why do we try to do any activity? There is certain motivation for us to do something that we will get benefited from doing it. Therefore, we do, right? Nobody does anything if they don't see any benefit coming out of it. The benefit should be at least happiness, right? I do this so that I'm happy, right? At least that much, right? So now we just have to change that conception slightly, that this will make Paramatma happy. That is why we have to do, right? Whatever we do, whatever fruit comes, right? Let's say we all study so that we get good grade. Why should we get good grade? Why should we get good grade? Yes. Yes. So, right. So, to make Paramatma happy, that is why we should get good grades, right? Why should we study well? To make Paramatma happy. So, this is why we should do anything. So, this is giving the phala to Paramatma. Then, are these all our activities? Is studying your activity? No. No. Whose activity is it? Paramatma. So I'm trying to teach jnanis here. Like Andal is approaching gopikas who are apparently sleeping, but they're in meditation. So, very realized souls here. So yes. So none of these activities belong to us. We think that these activities belong to us. The moment we are in a body, we think, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I have this responsibility, I have this responsibility, I have to do this, I have to do that. When we are a student, I have to do this. I'm an employee, I have to do this. I have to do this for my boss, I have to deliver this. We think that all these activities belong to us. They don't belong to us. They don't belong to us. These are all responsibilities assigned for a certain role. And that role is something created by Paramatma. Okay? So that is how everything belongs to Paramatma. All we are doing is we are just an employee in that role. And we have to discharge those responsibilities. Just like a bank, if there is a clerk in a bank, every day so many people come and withdraw so much money, right? And every day so many people come and deposit so much money. If on a certain day, people withdraw a lot of money, he doesn't think that my money is going away, right? But we think that on a certain day, if we have to spend a lot, we think, oh, so much money I have spent today. Why? What is the difference? Because in this case, the clerk is thinking that it is the bank's money. I'm just an employee. This is my role. My responsibility is every day I have to collect money, I have to deposit, I have to take out money, and I have to give it to people, unless I'm Lucky Bhaskar. Okay? So, this is his responsibility, right? This is his duty. So, if we do something in this mood, then everything belongs to Paramatma. So, there is no more sangha towards things. This is called sangha. Sangha means we are attached to so many conceptions, thinking we identify ourselves too much with the role, thinking that I am this role. This is what is causing a lot of stress. But when we think that this role is something that belongs to Paramatma, I'm just an employee here. I just have to do my duty, right? Then the last piece comes. I have to do my duty, right? Kartrutva. Am I really the person doing the duty? Who is studying? Are you studying? Paramatma is studying.
Tomorrow they get bad grades, they are going to tell their parents.
Paramatma. So, yes, who is the one doing it? How do we understand who is the one doing it? It appears as if we have to put the effort, right? We still have to learn. We still have to memorize. We still have to remember things. We still have to write the exam. We still have to go to the exam hall. We still have to submit the paper to the teacher. So, we are doing everything, right? Then where is Paramatma doing it? Hmm? So, Paramatma, yeah, go ahead. He is giving us the energy to do things. He is giving us the inspiration to do things. He is giving us the resources to finish things. He is the one who is facilitating things to happen. How are we even traveling to the exam hall? How are we waking up? How are we even sitting and studying? Who is empowering this body with all these energies? Who is the one who is keeping all these things in our mind? What if we forget whatever we learned 5 minutes ago? If you forget in the next 5 minutes, there are movies like that, right? Where people forget and they have to keep on reading that list again to remember what they have written a few minutes ago. If that thing happens, then our reading will not make any difference. Somebody is letting things stay in the memory. Somebody is holding things in our memory. Somebody has given us all these abilities so that we can discharge our duties. Somebody has blessed us with so many resources. So that is Paramatma. So this is Kartritva, understanding that without him, we can't really do anything. So it's like, when a certain child might sit in a train and think that I'm the one driving this train, right? But in fact, there is a driver there, right? In Mall of America, if you have not, airport, right? If you have to go from, one terminal to a terminal A to terminal B or something, then we go in a ramp in a certain, train, right? So it appears as if the train is moving on its own. A child may think that, see, I'm the one who is moving this train. They sit at the, very end of it. But is the train moving on its own? No, there is someone who is driving, right? Similarly, if a child wants to lift something, the parent might actually lift the entire chair along with the child. The child thinks that I'm lifting this chair. But who is lifting the chair? The parent is doing. And finally, the child feels happy that I have lifted this chair, I've accomplished something, right? So in this way, Paramatma is actually within us. He is staying and he's actually accomplishing so many things. But we don't recognize that he is the one who is doing things. We think that it is I who is doing it. So this is Kartrutva. So this also has to be given. When these three things change, that is Vairagya, right? It's not that the activity is being given up. We are not changing anything, right? The conceptions are changing. So this is Vairagya. So now that is what is being indicated here, right? And then she is saying a certain white teeth. What does the white teeth indicate? So typically, right, it is indicating a lack of enjoyment of betel nuts and betel leaves and all that, right? Typically in the Vaidika Sampradayam, right, brahmacharis and sannyasis are not allowed to chew betel leaves and betel nuts and pan and all these things, right? Supari, pan, these things are not allowed. Why? There is a reason. Because repeated chewing of these things makes the tongue thick. So they cannot pronounce Vedic sounds properly. The clarity is needed for pronouncing mantras correctly. So that is the reason why these are not allowed. But Grahastha is allowed. He's allowed to offer tambulam to Perumal also and he can take it. Grahastha is allowed. So this is indicating that enjoyments like that are prohibited. In other words, that mood of enjoyment should not be there. So is someone who is without those mood of enjoyment. This is one thing. The second thing that is being talked about, that the teeth are white, is indicating that the food that we eat should be pure. Okay? Because the Veda says, Ahara Shuddho Sattva Shuddhihi. Sattva Shuddho Dhruva Smritihi. For that remembrance, Smriti means remembrance, right? This remembrance can remain stable. That means the mind can focus on something only when Sattva Shuddho, the mind is pure. A mind that is contaminated with so many material impressions cannot focus on one thing for a long time. Because constantly the mind is driven by one thing or another and it keeps running every few seconds. So for it to focus, the mind has to attain a certain kind of stability. It has to be in Sattva Guna, right? The nature of Rajo and Tamo Gunas is that everything is muddy and hazy. The nature of Sattva Guna is that if you go and look at a swimming pool, can you see the bottom of the swimming pool? Yes. But can you see the bottom of a river? Why? It's muddy. There is so many things that are present which is preventing you from seeing it. But in a swimming pool, clearly you are able to see the floor because it's clear. So that is how the mind should be. If it is clear like that, then the Paramatma is clearly reflected in that mind. So for us to attain that pure mind, sattva shuddhihi, the first thing that Shastra says, ahara shuddho sattva shuddhihi. The food that we eat should be pure. What is that purity of food? It should be sattvic. Because we all know that you are what you eat, right? Have you heard that? How many of you have heard that? Right? What do you mean by that? Can anybody share? What does it mean, you are what you eat? Okay. I'm dealing with the wrong kids today. They are all from Andal's Goshti. So, no, very good. Well done. If you haven't gotten what I said, I'm appreciating you. Okay. So ahara shuddha means we should eat sattvic food, because the food that we eat also has gross things and subtle things in it. The gross things in the food are responsible for developing our muscle and bones and skin and all these things, the gross form of us. But the subtle things that are present in the food, right? What are the subtle things? Certain foods have bad nature inherently within them. They cause aggression in us, right? For instance, if we drink alcohol, what will happen? People will become intoxicated. They don't know what they are doing. The food by nature has a certain property. There are other foods which have a certain dosha associated with who they take shelter of. For instance, if a person is cooking very angrily, right? Instead of cutting vegetables gently, they're saying, today I have to cook. In this way, if they are cooking, that anger is transferred into the food, right? That hatred is transferred into the food. Now, whoever eats that food will be filled with anger. The mind develops anger, right? If a thief is cooking every day and getting that food to you, then you will get tendency to steal. That tendency will come in you, right? This is called, impurity of food, right? So food that we eat should be pure, means we have to take pure food. So this is what that white teeth is indicating, that ahara shuddhi has to be present and vak shuddhi has to be present. That means what we speak should also be pure, right? We shouldn't talk whatever we want. We shouldn't talk purposeless things, right? Our speech should be very purposeful and it should be enjoyable to others, right? Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat, Krishna says, right? Yes. Anudvega karam vakyam. It shouldn't be unnecessarily agitating to others. Satyam, it should be truthful. Just because Krishna said it should be truthful doesn't mean we blurt out whatever we know, right? Priyam, it should also be pleasing for others to hear. If that truth is something that is unpleasing to hear, it's better to remain silent. Just because you don't have to open your mouth, right? And it should hitam, it should cause welfare to others. So this is how one should practice speech. This is called vak shuddhi. So these sannyasis, people who possess this kind of tapasya, what is the tapasya they do? The tapasya they do is tasmat nyasam esham tapasam atiriktamahuhu. The Veda says that it is that nyasa, surrender of phala, sangha and kartrutva to the Supreme Being. So this is what they possess. That is the tapasya that they possess. That is the tapashakti that they possess. Because of which all of these things that they do will be pure in nature. So that is the kind of gopika that Andal is trying to refer to today, right? Whom she thinks that we have to take shelter of. Now, one may say, the gopika inside may say, see, this is not an indication that day has come. Why? Because the nature of certain flowers is that irrespective of whether sun comes or not, for instance in Minnesota, right? Irrespective of, plants got used to it. That sun will come one day, it won't come one day. Most days it won't be there anyways. So they won't depend on sun for their growth. Right? In this way, plants in blooming and all also can happen just like that. Plants may know that it's morning time now, so they have to bloom. So just because something comes or something is happening doesn't mean it's a symptom of anything. Andal that gopika might say from within. Second thing she might say, these sannyasis you are saying, all of this white teeth, they are going to the temple and so on. They always do that because Bhagavad Gita said, Nitya Yukta Upasate. Right? And it says that, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Constantly they keep singing the glories of Paramatma. So just because they are singing glories doesn't mean it's a sign of mourning. Right? The gopika inside might say that. So therefore she is saying, Engalai munnam Thiruppavai vai pesum nangai. You are the one who said that you will come and wake us up. So now they are saying that Forget about all those things. You said that you will wake us up when it's morning. So now it's, you have to wake us up. That is your duty, right? They are trying to indicate using these three things. So far they have done three things. What are they? They inferred that something they did not observe, because they didn't go into the garden, look into the well and looked at the flowers and said, right? They inferred that lotuses might be blooming and lilies might be shrinking. This is something they inferred. This is inference. Okay, not something you see, but you inferred. Just because smoke is coming, you might infer that there might be fire there. This is an inference. You haven't seen. It might just be some kind of fog coming out of somebody's house heating, right, from the chimney. It's not any smoke or anything, right? But we might infer that there might be a fire, something caught fire there. This is an inference. Okay. The second thing that they said is directly they were seeing that sannyasis were going to the temple. This is pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct perception. You see, you report what you see with your eyes. This is called pratyaksha, right? There are three ways in which we gain truth, knowledge of anything. What are they? Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. There are many more that different schools have recognized. Today we'll focus on these three at least. Some people depend only on Pratyaksha, right? That means only if you see, you believe that it has happened. If you didn't see with your own eyes, you won't believe it. This is called Pratyaksha. Okay, the Charvakas and so on, there's a certain school of philosophers, right? Hedonists, they are called, right? They believe only if they see something. So they don't believe in God, they don't believe in soul, they don't believe in all these. Have you ever seen soul? No, right? We have never seen certain things. Have you ever seen heaven? Have you ever seen Vaikuntha? Have you ever seen anything else like that? Any planets there? Nothing. So if you don't see, then you don't believe, right? This is one philosophy, right? But another kind of philosophy, another kind of way of gaining knowledge about things is called Anumana. Anumana means you may not have seen everything, but if there is something related to that you have seen previously, you will try to infer based on what knowledge you have and what things you are seeing currently. This is called inference. This is called Anumana. Pratyaksha, Anumana, right? Some people like Buddhists, right? Buddhist philosophy, they believe in Pratyaksha and Anumana, right? Now, there is another thing called Shabda, which is also called Aptavakyam. Aptavakyam means someone you trust. They are someone who are capable of representing truth as it is. You know that they are someone who are capable of representing truth as it is, and they are capable of conveying the truth to you as it is. Such a person is called Apta. And the statements made by such a person is called Aptavakyam. This is Shabda. So this is the other way in which you gain knowledge of things. For instance, if there is a glass of white liquid and your mother said that drink it, what will you do? You don't want to drink it? What do you think it is? Milk. Okay. Your mother might say it is milk, drink it. You just trust and you drink it, assuming you're not allergic to, milk and all the, right? Lactose intolerant and all that. Okay. So you drink it, right? Assuming that that is there. But if somebody, some rare person that you don't know, they put a liquid there and they say you drink it, will you immediately drink?
Yeah.
You'll wait to see if somebody else that you know is doing it. If they are drinking it, nothing is happening to them, then you might drink. Right? Because that white liquid could be anything. Right? How do you know that it could be white paint? Right? So how do you know that that is actually milk? So you need help of someone that you can trust for you to gain that knowledge. Right? So this is Shabda. If someone you know tells you, you have faith that they are telling you the truth. So this is Shabda. So Andal is indicating that we are someone who accepts these three pramanas, that Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. Right? There are three ways in which we accept knowledge. As long as they don't contradict Shabda, we accept it. Even Pratyaksha and Anumana. Right? Now what they are saying is, okay, so Andal is saying, Engadai munnum eluppuvan vaipesu nangai. So they are talking about a certain completeness of this particular devotee. What is the completeness of a Bhagavata? Right? Of an Acharya, the completeness is not just possessing knowledge, but also doing Upadesham. Right? And what should be the nature of Upadesham for it to have that completeness? That Upadesham should connect the Jiva to Paramatma. Right? Has anybody seen what is the symbol of Upadesham? How do they do Upadesham? What is the Upadesha Mudra? Do you know? This is how you put the Upadesha Mudra, Acharya, right? Do you know what this represents? These three fingers represent Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas. Okay? This finger represents Jiva, and this finger represents Paramatma. So an Acharya is someone who separates the three fingers called Prakriti and connects the Jiva to Paramatma. This is what Upadesham is. Right? So this is the reason why they depict like this in Upadesham symbol. Okay, you should all remember this. Everybody, right? Okay. So when the Jiva is connected to Paramatma using the speech by Acharya, that is when that Upadesham is complete. So that is the completeness that they are talking about. That it shouldn't be like you sit in isolation and you experience Paramatma on your own. Please come out and teach us. Connect us also to Paramatma the way you are getting connected to Paramatma. Right? This is what they are trying to tell. They are trying to petition in front of her. Elendirai nanadai naudayai. Now it is being told that you are someone who has shamelessly bragged, right? That you will come and wake us up, but you are not doing it, right? You are trying to speak one thing and you are trying to do another thing. Now, whatever, so what they are trying to say is, first thing that they are trying to say is, when somebody has a certain ability to give something, the extent to which they have the ability, they should give it to others, right? The Vedam says, Shriyadeyam, Hriyadeyam. What does that mean? Shriyadeyam means you evaluate what is your ability. So it could be finances, depending upon the person, right? Somebody could be wealthy. Then that is what they have to evaluate, and they have to Hriyadeyam. If they are able to donate something to others, while donating, they have to feel that Kriya means they have to feel a certain amount of shame that although I'm having this much, I'm only able to give this much to this person, right? Somebody may have a lot of knowledge. They have to give knowledge to others. Now, while giving, they have to feel that although I have a lot of knowledge, I'm only able to give this much to others, right? This is Hriyadeyam. Somebody may have a lot of power. When there is someone powerless who is needing that help, one has to come and help them out, right? So then they have to say that although I have a lot of time, although I have a lot of energy, I've only been able to help them so much. In this way, one has to be feeling that way. This is Hriyadeyam. So whatever one has to evaluate that, and one has to give it to others, but also one has to feel that I'm only able to do so much. So now you are not feeling that way, right? You are having a lot of wealth, you are having a lot of knowledge, Bhagavat Anubhavam you are experiencing, but you are not coming and sharing that out, right? Please come and share that out with us. Are you, someone who is feeling embarrassed like that you are not able to do that? Please come and do that, right? Ramachandra, when the rishis in Dandakaranya, they came and approached Rama, he said, I'm feeling ashamed that you have to come and tell that to me, right? That you are all suffering. They all came and told Ramachandra that they are suffering. Then Rama said that I feel so ashamed. In that way, are you feeling that we all are coming to you and asking, still you are not responding to us? This is what Andal is trying to remind. Then another glory of a Bhagavata is being brought out here. What does it mean to be shameless? When is a devotee shameless? Why is a devotee shameless? Draupadi, she was trying to, protect her shame, right? By holding her hands this way for a long time, right? At one point, she became shameless and she completely let the responsibility to Paramatma. So shamelessness means completely giving up the responsibility from you to Paramatma. You are no longer trying to take control of things. You are trying to transfer that control fully to Paramatma. That's when we are shameless, right? That is indicating, it may feel like it's, that's what it is indicating, but Draupadi, using her example, that is what, acharyas have commented, right? Shamelessness means completely transferring that control to Paramatma, not trying to control even slightly. So Draupadi's case is very interesting. Initially, she held with both hands. After some time, she held with one hand. Then finally, she gave up both and she said, Shankachakra Gadapane, Dwarkanalaya, Achyuta, Govinda, Pundarikaksha, Rakshamam, Sharanagatam. She declared. So this is when she was completely shameless. That means that is indicating that you are no longer trying to protect yourself, right? But you are transferring that protection to Paramatma completely, right? So this Bhagavata is of that nature. You are already someone who is completely placing yourself in the hands of Paramatma, right? We want guidance on how to accomplish that, how to do that on a day-to-day basis. So you please come out and guide us. Oh, shameless girl means, oh, girl who has transferred responsibility completely to Paramatma. This is how they are trying to address her, right? And then, so these are the Acharya Lakshanas that she is talking about. Now, Paramatma Lakshanas that are being talked about here, right? Changadu Chakkaram. So 3 things about Paramatma are being talked about here. What are they? That he has long arms, right? And he holds Shankha and Chakra, and he is Pundarikaksha. These are the 3 things that are being indicated in the last few lines, right? What does this long arms indicate? Whenever Paramatma feels the need to hold Shankha and Chakra, his arms become long, apparently. Have you seen Pinocchio? How many of you have seen? So when does Pinocchio's nose become long? Whenever he lies, right? Like that, whenever Paramatma feels like he wants to protect, his arms become long. That's why he's called Ajanabahu, right? You know, right? Ramachandra is called Ajanabahu. Ajanabahum Aravinda Dalayaksham. How many of you know that sloka? Some of you, right? So what does that mean? In the Ramayana, it is described when the Devatas, they prayed, right? Etasmin antare Vishnuhu upayato mahadyatihi shankha chakra gada padme pitavaso jagatpatihi. The word mahadyatihi is very important, right? That as soon as the Devatas were thinking someone needs to protect us, immediately Paramatma illuminated mahadyatihi, right? He became very, very happy that yes, because he wants to protect. That is what he wants to do. He likes protecting, but people should ask for it. He's ever eager to protect. The Shankha Chakras are indicating that he's ever eager to protect, but we have to ask for it. When we ask for it, he comes and protects us, right? As soon as a call comes, he becomes very happy that yes, it's time for me to do my action, right? In this way, that joy is being indicated using that long arms, right? Holding that Shankha and Chakra. What exactly are the Shankha and Chakra? What is the Shankha? The Shankha has a very interesting property, right? Something always in touch with the Lord's hands, and it blows, it makes sound only when the Lord blows air into it using his lips. So it is indicating that this is how we should be, right? We should be always in touch with the Lord's hands. What does that mean? That we should let go of this control over things and we should understand that he is the Karta through us, right? This is what that is indicating. And the blowing of conch, it's indicating that whatever comes out from us, right, that also belongs to him. This meditation we have to do. This is what Shankha is trying to tell us, right? These are the 2 lessons Shankha is trying to tell us. What is Shankha trying to tell us? What is Shankha indicating? Omkara. Shankha means Omkara, right? And when is Shankha blown? When does Krishna blow his flute? When the cows and calves are far, far away, he doesn't have to go to every nook and corner and bring them back. At the end of the day, all he does is he stays in one place and he blows the flute. And all the cows and calves come to him. Right? That is the power. What is the flute? The sound that Paramatma makes, the flute is also Ashtakshari mantra. It is also Omkar. Because if you see, through one hole, you are blowing the sound. Through all the holes, the music is coming out. Right? That one hole is Omkar. Right? And the rest of it is the rest of the mantra. Right? That means what are we trying to do here? Paramatma is trying to remind that relationship, and all the jivas are getting attracted. So Omkara is that sound, the conch or the blowing of the flute is that sound that brings the jivas back to Paramatma. Right? This is what Shankha is capable of doing. Right? So thing Shankha does is it brings us closer to Paramatma. What does chakra do? What is chakra called? It is called, what is the name of chakra? Sudarshana. Sudarshana means something that provides a clear vision, right? So Sudarshana is that thing which makes the nature of the Lord clearly visible to us by removing our papams. That is called Sudarshana. Shankha is the thing that brings we who are far, far away, we are brought closer to Paramatma. What does that mean? That means Upasana of Omkara, Upasana of Ashtakshari, constant meditation on this is something that brings us who are in samsara closer to Paramatma, right? Then chakra is the thing that makes the nature of Paramatma very clearly visible to us. Therefore, it's called Sudarshana. Su means very nicely. Darshana means seeing. So it is something that makes Paramatma's nature clear to us. That is what Sudarshana does, right? And then what is Pundarikaksha? Pundarikaksha means his eyes are filled with compassion, love, and joy upon seeing all of us. His eyes are filled with lot of forgiveness, lot of, parental affection upon seeing us. So as soon as jivas come and see those eyes of Paramatma, we get attracted to him, right? And then his eyes are the things that are capable of giving us confidence that we will always be protected, right? Because he's always compassionate. The word Pundarikaksha is indicating that he's ever ready to forgive us. His eyes are filled with tears of joy upon seeing us. He's filled with, separation anxiety from all of us. So as soon as, that vision falls on us, there is a guarantee that we will be protected, right? So these are the three things that Andal is trying to bring out in those, words that she is trying to describe, right, about Paramatma. So once again, I'll try to, I took a little long because I wanted to be a little engaging for the kids too. So please forgive me. Quickly, I'll try to summarize in a couple of minutes and we'll end for today. Okay. Ungal puzhaikkadai thottatu vaaviyul. So this is referring to a certain well, which is, different meditations there. One is giving up our swatantriya bhavam and cultivating that paratantriya bhavam, right? That is one thing that is being talked about there. First takeaway, right? The second takeaway is it is referring to the different chakras and the upasana, right? The blooming is the activation of different chakras, right? And then our spiritual energy, the rise of spiritual energy is being talked about there, right? And connection to Paramatma, right? That is being talked about there. Then through the blooming of flowers and the closing of flowers and the closing of indriyas to external objects. And then through the characteristics of sannyasis, we are being told how we should actually perform the duties without actually getting affected by the results, right? We should practice that phala and sangha and kartritva. Giving up these three things is something that we should all practice, right? That is what is being indicated there. And using the teeth, what is being indicated? That there should be vak shuddhi and there should be ahara shuddhi, right? These are things that are being indicated there, okay? And then Nangai, Edundirai, Nanadai, Naudayai. What is completeness for an Acharya? When the Acharya not only is a meditator, but also is a giver of that knowledge to others. And that knowledge should be given in such a way that the Sishya is able to connect back to Paramatma, right? That is when the Acharyas attain their completeness, right? So that is being talked about in terms of Acharya Tattva, right? And then they are saying that you are someone who is fully surrendered to Paramatma. So we want to get into that mood of full surrender to Paramatma. So please come out and guide us. Who is this Paramatma? He is someone who possesses Shankha, Chakra, and compassionate eyes. The Shankha is something that is capable of bringing us who are very far, far away closer to God. Chakra is something that makes the nature of Paramatma clear to us. And those eyes are something that are capable of completely purifying us, right? Chakshusha tava saumyena putosmi raghunandhana, says Shabari, right? That your eyes are capable of completely purifying, right? So he removes all the sins and we gain that confidence that we will always be protected, right? So these are the things that Andal is trying to indicate in this particular Pasuram. So many Alvars and Acharyas have been indicated using different commentaries. Tondaradipudi Alvar, and then Thiruppan Alvar, and then Nammalvar also in certain commentaries. So we will conclude today. Thank you all for giving this opportunity for me to get purified this way by meditating on these meanings and sharing with all of you. Clearly, including the kids, I don't feel qualified to come and speak in front of them because they are very high souls who are already realized in all the meanings of Thiruppavai. So thank you all. And you are also parents of such kids. So I can only imagine, how great you all are. So thank you all. Andal Tiruvadagale Sharanam. So we'll hang up for those of you who are remote. Thank you for joining.